This is modern-day slavery. All trafficking victims share one essential experience: the loss of freedom.
Human trafficking is a $150 billion industry worldwide.
The average age of human trafficking is 13. Human trafficking is a form of modern-day slavery that denies freedom to 20.9 million people around the world. And no matter where you live, chances are it's happening nearby.
From the girl forced into prostitution at a truck stop,
to the man discovered in a restaurant kitchen, stripped of his passport and held against his will. Human trafficking is a crime that involves compelling, coercing, manipulating, or forcing someone into labor, services, or commercial sex.
Well, there's several ways that people get forced into sex trafficking. A few of the most common are something that we call guerrilla pimping. And guerrilla pimping is when someone is literally forced and taken into a trafficking situation. This could be like kidnapping or something really dramatic like that. Probably the most common way that I've seen kids get forced into trafficking, we call lover boy pimping or lover boy syndrome. And this is where a pimp will pretend to initiate a relationship with somebody in order to gain their trust. And once that relationship is built on and they have the trust of that person, they'll violate that trust and use that in order to force them into sex trafficking and being sold. The other common way that people get into sex trafficking situations are by traffickers kind of selling a dream, but then giving you a nightmare. So whatever that needed is in your life or whatever that void that needs to be filled, they'll come into your life and appear to meet that need or appear to sell you that dream that you really want. If you want to be a model, they could be a model scout. If you need a job, they can be a businessman. If you need to be in a relationship, they will be the best person in a relationship ever. If you want to travel, they'll give you the opportunity to travel. So whatever it is, they'll sell you that dream, but then the dream that you're handed isn't really a dream, it's a nightmare.
Hi, my name is Ava, and I'm 14 years old. My mom started dating this guy a while back. He moved in with us, and I've never seen my mom so happy. Everything seemed all right for a while. One night, my mom's boyfriend came into my bedroom. He molested me. I couldn't believe it was happening. My life changed forever. I met this guy online who my friend was friends with. He knew what it was like to have a hard time. He always had time to listen, and he cared about what was going on with me. After a while, we fell in love. He seemed like the perfect guy. One night, we were hanging out with some friends, and he said he was in a hard situation and needed some money. He asked if I would go on a date with his friend just once. He said he wouldn't ask if it wasn't important. I was hesitant at first. He said if I really loved him, then I would help him out. So I told him I would help him out just this once. It wasn't too long before one date turned into another, and my life fell apart from there. Now he has dates lined up for me. He also said if I try to leave, he would hurt my mom. Sometimes I wish I could get out, but I don't know how.
Did you see where Ava disclosed her personal information online? Did you see where Ava was guilted into doing something that she didn't want to?
There's a lot of reasons and there's a lot of things that keep people stuck in a trafficking situation. First of all, which is difficult to understand, but it's really true to trafficking situations, is people are brainwashed by the situation that they're in. So a lot of times when we think about trafficking, we think about people being held with physical chains, their wrists being chained to someone. And sometimes that does happen in trafficking situations, but more often or not, people's chains are in their mind. They're psychological chains that held people in those situations. And they're very much real, even though we can't see them. Physical and emotional abuse are also really common in trafficking situations. Threats to hurt someone they love or hurt the person in the situation. Isolating them from people that they care about is really common. Not having enough money to leave. Being physically held in the situation by locked doors or windows. Relocating or moving people away from a familiar situation also makes it hard to get in contact with those support systems where people can usually get help. Blaming the victim is also very common. Also in traumatic situations, people tend to bond. It's called Stockholm Syndrome or traumatic bonding. And the trafficker has built trust with that person in order to make them believe that they're cared for. And then the traumatic bonding on top of that makes a bond that's really hard to break.
Hi, my name is Isabel and I'm 16 years old. I met this girl in my math class who I'd seen around but never really talked to. We became friends and started hanging out. Later that year, she introduced me to this guy she knew. He dressed really nice and had a really nice car. He said he was a businessman and owned a company in Los Angeles. He asked if we wanted to take a trip to LA. It all sounded so exciting, especially compared to Bakersfield. I decided to go. I snuck out and we were off to LA. I couldn't wait to get there, and I finally felt like an adult. I felt like I was free. When we got there were multiple guys waiting for us, and I found out the businessman owed an escort service. That night we were raped and beaten. We were told that the only way to get out of working is if we were dead. This is our life now, so I guess we better get used to it.
Did you see how Isabel was taken out of town without a parent or guardian's consent? Did you see how Isabel blindly followed a stranger?
Meeting strangers online is definitely something that can come up. So some ways to kind of keep yourself safe could be having a private account or only being friends with people that you know online. Being careful where you put your information. Just a few posts about your favorite restaurants or where you like to hang out can give away a lot of information about you. Also, if you do choose to meet someone online, setting the same boundaries that you would if it was a stranger that you meet in public. Just because time passes with a new relationship doesn't automatically make that person safe. Traffickers can take the time to listen and make you feel safe and understood. That's one of the tactics that they use to get people to feel safe with them. If you're not a stranger, you may not feel like a threat anymore, but trafficker is still very much a threat. Also, making sure that all your relationships that you're in are healthy relationships, whether it's a friendship relationship or a romantic relationship, can do a lot for keeping you safe against trafficking. If you don't feel free to leave when you want to come and go, if you're physically, emotionally, or financially abused or punished, if the person dismisses your emotions or your opinions just like they're not important and treat you like you're not important, that could be a sign of an unhealthy relationship.
Labor trafficking occurs in many industries in the United States and globally. In the U.S., labor trafficking can include people working as door-to-door salespeople, domestic servants or nannies, restaurant and hotel staff, forced panhandling, agricultural, and construction workers. Labor trafficking has also been reported in carnivals, logging industries, and drug trafficking situations, as well as health and beauty service industries. These workers are often stripped of their identification papers and are held in inhumane living conditions, such as cramped dormitories. Every aspect of their lives is controlled by their trafficker. Labor traffickers also make false promises of high-paying jobs and exciting educational or travel opportunities to lure people into exploitative and often low-paying, demeaning work.
Hi, my name is Jordan. I'm 17 years old. I crash with my friends when I can, but most of the time I've been on the streets. One day a guy from this program said he could help me out. He knew of someone who could help me get a job and a place to stay. He asked if I had a record. Nothing major, but I've been in trouble. I showed up where I was supposed to, on time. We drove quite a while and pretty soon I had no idea where we were. We were in the middle of nowhere. I started getting a little nervous and tried to ask questions, but I didn't really. Finally, we arrived and we were on some type of farm. I got this weird feeling and then I saw a few guys with guns. I started looking around and I noticed that this wasn't just any farm. They were growing marijuana. This big guy with a gun told me that I was going to help them with their drug business. He said, "Don't bother telling the police. If I do, I'll be the one who's arrested because it will just look like I'm trying to get out of drug charges. I already have a record. Now I don't even know where I am, much less how to leave. Even if I did, I don't have anywhere else to go."
Did you see when Jordan was lured in by a stranger offering a job? Did you notice when Jordan blindly followed the instructions of an unfamiliar person?
Hi, my name is Mateo. I'm 16 years old. Earlier this summer, my friend Taylor and I were looking for a job. A friend from school said his uncle had a business and we could make a few $1,000s in just 2 weeks if we worked hard. He had a really nice website, so we figured everything was okay. A van was sent to pick us up. They took us to another town several hours away. They told us that they would hold on to our IDs for us because they wanted to make sure nobody stole important things from us, like our cash or documents. Our first paycheck was decent. However, things got bad quick. Our boss kept wanting us to make more and more money. He started calling us names. Our paychecks started getting smaller and smaller. And he told us if one of us left, he would kill the other. He told me he knew that I had family members that weren't documented and he could get them deported. I want to get away, but my phone is gone. I have no ID, no money, and as soon as I leave, they will kill my friend and maybe even hurt my family.
Did you notice the unreasonably high offer of compensation? It was too good to be true. Did you notice they were taken out of town to a place they were unfamiliar with? Did you also notice their identification documents were taken away from them?
You think oftentimes if you're a victim of labor trafficking, you'd report and raise your hand and say, hey, I'm a victim. Oftentimes it's not the case. Oftentimes they're afraid. Oftentimes the individual who's trafficking them has control over them. That's one of the things as a police department we're trying to do is be more aggressive investigating these cases and prosecuting these individuals who are suspected of being traffickers to prevent the victims from feeling victimized to the extent where they can't talk.
Some more vulnerable populations that we've seen targeted could be runaway, homeless, or foster youth. There's some vulnerabilities there. Being undocumented or an immigrant. Having struggles with substance abuse can put you at risk. Being an individual with low self-esteem or having a home life that's not very stable. If you've ever experienced physical, sexual abuse or neglect, that can also put you at risk. Having learning disabilities, mental health issues, having unaddressed past trauma, or be lacking in something such as money, close and caring relationships, or attention. All those things are things that traffickers can hone in on and put a target on a person for trafficking.
We hope that this presentation has opened your eyes to the true dangers of human trafficking.
Together, we are the 4 Dream Builders team, the Garlic Company.
We are giving the next generation the tools to make the unseen seen and help end human trafficking.
If anything in this video sounded familiar or relatable, please go and talk to a trusted teacher, school counselor, or adult.
If you ever feel as if you are or may become a victim of human trafficking, please call the Human Trafficking Hotline at 1-888-373-7888 or text HELP to be free.